Welcome back to Stand Fast. I appreciate everybody's patience. The show has not ran now for a few weeks because it's been quite a busy few weeks for me. I'm getting back from school. I'm starting, summer work. I had my girlfriend was visiting for a while, so it was definitely a very eventful last couple weeks, and definitely not a lot of time for me to make content. And it's been reflected in my follower account. Of course, I don't do it for the followers, but I have lost a few due to me deciding not to post for a while now. But I'm back, and Lord willing, we'll have a fruitful summer of content and stuff. And as I kind of talked about last time, kind of the future of the show and what things look like moving forward. Back in my little studio here in the corner of my room back home in Kansas. And I'm looking forward to what the summer has planned for us. Today is the first of a topical episode series. These will be posted Thursdays. Sometimes they'll be current events, sometimes they'll be topical, but the goal, regardless, is to make them 20 to 25 minutes so they aren't too long. And that's not only for you guys, so you guys don't have to listen to me for too long and you guys don't have this long form content to have to pay attention to but also for myself, because I am a low budget kind of podcaster, and it's much easier for me to upload things and to edit things if they are shorter. It takes less storage, it takes less processing power for my laptop and my iPhone. So we're going to try and keep it 20 to 25 minutes. So this might be a two-part series, what we're talking about today. But we'll just get right into it. We're right around high school graduation time. High schools are getting out, colleges are getting out, everybody's graduating. It's kind of an exciting time. I remember when I graduated high school, there was a lot of excitement. You get a lot of money, which is nice. But there's a lot of excitement. It's an achievement, and it's something to be proud of, to be pleased with, that you accomplished what you set out to accomplish. Of course, you don't have a choice. You have to go through schooling here in America, but nonetheless, you accomplished, and if you excelled, if you really succeeded, then even more so reason to celebrate. Well, everybody's getting out of high school, everyone's getting out of college, and a question that for, I'd say, the last few years, a question raised by, one of the people I looked up to, which was Charlie Kirk, a question that's been raised is, well, is college a scam? And this is a question that's being asked by both high school and college graduates. Why? Well, high school graduates, because they're wondering, should I go to college? Is it worth it for me to spend all of this money, all of this time, this effort, this energy into going to, pursue further education? Or is it not worth it? Should I just look at other options? Are there other options? These are the questions high school graduates asked, while college graduates are maybe looking back and thinking, did I waste my time? Now, I have some friends of mine who recently graduated from college, good kids, and several of them have told me, hey, I feel like I wasted my time. I felt like I went through college and I spent all this money and this time and this effort, and the whole time, I could look back and realize I didn't need to do all that. And in fact, I'm not even going to use my degree. I know what I'm going to do, and it's not has anything to do with what I've been studying. And a lot of people are struggling with this because it's a real question to ask today. And so I obviously posted, if you follow my Instagram account, which you should, Stand Fast and Truth on Instagram. If you follow my Instagram account, you know that I recently did an interview around college campus asking college students whether they think college is a scam. And the results I thought were quite interesting, and I would encourage you to go back and look at that video if you haven't. But a lot of the sentiment from even college students is that college is just not worth the time. So I decided I'd do the research. I'd do my studying. I'm currently in college, enrolled. I only have a semester left, Lord willing. But I'm currently enrolled at college, and I think it's important to address this issue because it affects so many young Americans, people my age. And, I care about people my age. I care about my generation, and I want to see it succeed. So I think this is a question worth addressing. So this may be a two-part series, but basically today's topic is going to be the college scam. So first of all, I think it's important, and I actually forgot to pull this up, so I'm going to do that real fast. What is the definition of a scam? Because that really will play into kind of the phraseology of the question. Is college a scam? According to this AI overview, college or a scam is a deceptive or dishonest scheme designed to trick you into willingly giving away money, valuables, or sensitive personal information. So deception, dishonesty, scheming. Those are kind of the ideas related to a scam. It involves deception, it involves pressure. Let's look at what Merriam-Webster has to say. Merriam-Webster would define scam as to deceive or defraud someone, to obtain something such as money by a scam. So kind of similar themes across these definitions. Something I looked at earlier, but I just thought it'd be important to establish that because a lot of people say, oh, well, I wouldn't say college is a scam per se, whatever they mean by that. Really what they're, kind of intimating is that the word scam probably isn't appropriate to use in reference to college. But is that the truth? Is it true that college is a scam? Is it deceptive? Is it dishonest? Is it trying to trick you into giving up money? Well, as we'll look at, I think, in this episode and maybe next week as well, I would say very much so. College fits that definition. College is definitionally a scam. Now, can you navigate a scam? Absolutely. And I think Charlie Kirk would even say this at some of his rallies, that you can navigate a scam for your good. You can come out on top even in the midst of a scheme, a dishonest scheme that's trying to get one over on you. You can still win the scam. And I think that even though college is a scam, I've said this before, I'll say it again, even though college is a scam, doesn't mean that nobody should go to college. I obviously am still in college, even though I wholeheartedly believe it is a scam, because I believe that I am on the winning side. I believe what I went to college for, what I have gotten from it, is definitely worth the price I've paid. Lord willing, I have met my wife at college and will be married in the next year to a person I met because of college. I do not think college is not worth it for everybody. But definitionally, you have to say it's a scam, and we'll look at why. See, we looked at the definition of scam, a dishonest means of getting money, trying to defraud someone, and specifically the idea of money. The promise of college and the promise of higher education for a long time now has been, if you graduate with a bachelor's degree, you will find a job and you will be able to set up a successful career. That's the promise of college. Just verbatim. Colleges will tell you this. They will cite on their websites the statistics of people with bachelor's degrees making more money, people with bachelor's degree having a higher chance of finding a job soon. They'll cite all of this stuff in their marketing and whatever to try and advocate this point that if you get your degree, you will be more successful. It's basically, as has been said, a expensive but nonetheless a paid-for ticket into the middle class. At this point, really the lower middle class because of our economy, but nonetheless a ticket to the middle class. So the question then becomes, is the price you pay for that ticket worth what you get out of being in the middle class? Well, we'll have to examine this. Let's kind of turn back the clock, and I have this all in my notebook, and I kind of had some of these memorized, but I've obviously been off for a couple weeks, so I'm not sure I remember all the statistics well, so bear with me. But here, if we just look back at 1963. So for a public 4-year college, the public 4-year in-state tuition for college in 1963 was approximately $243. Now, there's a lot of stuff you can buy for $243 that is nothing like college. So at least nowadays. So just crazy how much prices have changed. I mean, $243, that's like, I mean, I probably couldn't even buy a pair of AirPods for that amount of money. But that used to be the tuition for a public 4-year in-state college in the year 1963. A private 4-year college in the year 1963 was just over $1,000, about $1,010. So we're talking just over $1,000 for tuition at a private 4-year college in 1963. Now, me just reading that and thinking about my own tuition bill, that sounds like an absolute steal because the prices are way higher now. In 2026, a public 4-year in-state college, an in-state college, mind you, public college that is supposed to service the needs of the citizens in the state in which the college resides, the tuition for such a college averages about $11,950. $11,000. That's a car, bro. I need to get myself a new car. I'm looking at that's probably more than I want to spend on my next car. In 2026, a private 4-year college, on average, you're spending $45,000 on tuition. So we go from $243 for a 4-year public in-state school to $11,000. You go from $1,000 for a private in 63 to, in 2026, $45,000. That is a nominal increase of 4,800%. That's 4,800% nominal increase. Even adjusted for inflation, that's still over 4 times the price of college tuition in 1963. That's what kids are paying today. Okay, it's not just inflation. It's not just rising costs. It is, even adjusted for inflation, even adjusted for those costs, still 4 times more expensive to go to school today than it was in the year 1963. Understand, 1963, that is 2 years before the Higher Education Act signed by Lyndon B. Johnson. That's 2 years before that legislation passed, which made college much more accessible for the public because it allowed for more government funding. The Higher Education Act included things like student financial aid, Title IV, which gave tremendous opportunity for grants. You have like the Pell Grant eventually came from that. You have all this government funding, these government financial aid opportunities for students to make college, higher education more accessible for the general public. It introduced support for institutions, strengthening developing institutions. It implemented equity for what have been historically minority colleges. It included help for community service and libraries. The Higher Education Act did all of this in 65. That's 2 years before 63. College then, really, for the average student who could then get financial aid and potentially a lot of financial aid depending on their circumstances, college prices even went down from there. But quickly they began to rise again. And why is that? Well, it's kind of a result of this Higher Education Act, because now it became a business. Now that these colleges knew they could get this government money, they could get this the money from the government through financial aid for these students, through these grants. Well, college tuition decided to they just decided to crank it up because they want more money. College went from becoming a place of learning and higher education, a place where that was central to the mission and vision and theme of the environment, to a business. It is just simply a business today. Now, you might be thinking, well, sure, we have to pay all this extra money for education. Sure, it's 4 times more expensive today than it was in the 60s, but we're getting a better education than ever, right? Because we're smarter than ever, technology's advanced, we're getting into AI. Surely education is better than ever. You would be wrong, you idiot, because education has gone way down. People are way dumber now than they ever have been. And colleges aren't helping. In fact, colleges are adding to the issue. Colleges are not educating people. They are either indoctrinating people or they are doing a disservice to their students by failing to educate them. In 1960, colleges on average awarded A's to 15% of students. That's a prestigious thing. It used to be that if you wanted a 4.0, if you wanted A's and if you wanted an A in your class, you had to be in the top 15% of students. Nowadays, it is awarded to 45% of students. 45. Now, do you really think the general public is 30% smarter now than it was in 1963? Absolutely not. Okay, I am part of Generation Z, and I hate to say it, but I know a lot of kids my age, and most of them are really stupid. I do not think they are 30% smarter than kids were in 1960. Let's just look at some things that college professors have to say. We'll talk about AI in a second, how that's also damaged the education of American colleges. But if we just look at some of these, 37% of professors admit to routinely inflating grades. So you have over a third of the professors in our colleges who are admittedly inflating. That's just those who admit it, mind you. I'm sure more of them do it. But these are just the ones who admitted to inflating grades routinely, meaning that if they have a student who they notice isn't doing very well and they might not pass the class, they might just bump up their grade randomly so they pass the class. 33% of professors admit to reducing the rigor of their courses over the years. Classes are getting easier. Content's getting easier. You look at some of the liberal arts courses, I had to take a few of them. In fact, I transferred schools, so I had to repeat several liberal arts courses. And let me tell you, I didn't do anything in those classes. They were the easiest thing. I breezed through those. And I'm not saying that to brag on myself. I don't think I was any smarter than anybody else. Most of the students did pretty well because the classes were pretty dumb. You didn't learn much. There just wasn't much content. There wasn't much rigor. And it makes sense because education is going down. 45% of tenured professors agree that academic standards have declined. Almost half of every professor in this country believes that academic standards have declined, yet they admit to being part of the problem, and they're okay with it. Well, why? Why do you think this is? Maybe it's because graduation rates are such a touted mark on colleges. Maybe it's because you have these colleges that are promoting the fact that they have high graduation rates. See, this is part of the scam. They promise you a ticket into the lower middle class, an expensive one at that, but they promise you nonetheless a ticket to success. You get this piece of paper, you will get a job, you'll have a nice career. And then they promise you, hey, let's say you're really not, all there, maybe you're not the sharpest tool in the shed. Hey, we promise that you're going to get that piece of paper. If you stay here for 4 years, you pay us your money, our graduation rate is fantastic, okay? We have the best professors who definitely don't reduce the rigor of their courses every year, who definitely don't admit to inflating grades routinely. No, we have the best professors who are going to help you make sure you get your piece of paper. Graduation rates are high. How do you get those graduation rates high? You just let people pass. You start giving out A's to 45% of students instead of 15. You just start letting people pass their classes. This is the state of American academics. Think about AI now. Okay, people using Claude, Gemini, and ChatGPT. 96% of college students admit to using AI for class assignments. 96%. That's dang near 100% of students. 96% of college students use AI. 86% say they have done so undetected. It's not hard, really, to be honest. Okay, it's really not hard to get around the AI detection things. The little, Canvas isn't that smart, guys. Okay, you are much smarter than Canvas is. You can figure out how to use AI undetected. AI is only causing more issues for colleges because not only are the academic standards really low, not only are the rigor of the classes going down, but now those really low standard classes, you don't even have to do anything in those classes because you can just outsource the work to AI undetected 86% of the time. You're chilling. You can breeze through. You can get that piece of paper real easy just simply by paying money. So what's my point? What am I trying to get at here? Okay, so again, the promise of college. You pay the college money. You stay there. You give them your time, your valuable time. You give them your time, and they promise you a piece of paper that will basically serve as your ticket into the middle class. But the question is, are you actually getting what you need from once you have that ticket? Are you actually being educated? All of this kind of points to the answer to that question being no. Actually, no, you're not getting educated. That's the point of college, isn't it? That's the point of higher education, is to be educated, to learn. Well, it sounds like nobody's learning. It sounds like professors are making their classes easy. It sounds like everybody's passing. That's what it sounds like to me. So the idea of higher education itself is a scam. You're paying for something that you're not getting. You're paying for an education that never comes. Investing in a bachelor's degree, it's been estimated, can ultimately cost in excess of $500,000. That comes from the Education Data Initiative. Truly, college is expensive, okay? We already looked at this. Nominal increase of 4,800%, even adjusted for inflation, is still 4 times more expensive than it was in the 60s. College is expensive, very expensive, no matter where you go, really. In-state, out-of-state, even 2-year in-district, $4,150 on average is the tuition for a 2-year in-district school. Private school, of course, is way out of the question for most. Average tuition for a private school is over $90,000. College it's really expensive. And even if you get aid and help, you're still going to graduate more than likely with lots of student loans that you will be paying off for a while. The question is it worth it? Now, we're at the 20-minute mark, and I think I could wrap this up in 5 minutes, so I'm going to try to, but we may have to address this in a second episode. Because the next thing I want to look at, well, okay, maybe college is a scam for the education, but let's say like most people probably, you're not going to college to get educated. Who really cares about being smart? That's just for nerds like me. Who really wants to read the books and learn the history and learn the actual information that's going to help you with your job? Nobody really cares about that. We're really just there for the ticket, right? We're there for the degree so I can get my job and I can get out of here and start my life and start a family, Lord willing, if, you should want that, but if that's what you want. That's what we're really here for, that piece of paper, right? Well, is that piece of paper really still your ticket to the middle class? So far, that's been the best argument against college being a scam, is that, people with a degree are still more likely to get jobs and they still earn more money. Even though the statistics that are usually cited that people with a bachelor's degree earn more money, those are incredibly inflated by the the top percent of people, of earners with a bachelor's degree. So it's like the millionaires and the billionaires with a bachelor's degree that incredibly inflate the statistic. But nonetheless, those are the best arguments, that you still have a better chance of getting a job. But even so, that truth is slowly diminishing, because it's only about 50% of careers that supposedly require a college degree, and projected by 2030, maybe 2050, it'll be more like 70% won't require a college degree. So the percentage of careers, of jobs, of corporations that are actually requiring their employees to have a bachelor's degree is going down, and substantially. Let's look at the 10 most popular majors. Business majors make up about 20% of all declared majors. In fact, just 3 categories make up about little over 40% of declared majors: business, health professions, and social sciences and history. Business is about 20%, health professions, about 13%, and social sciences and history about 7.5%. Then you have biosciences, psychology, engineering, computer science, visual and performing arts. Education at number 9 at just 4.4%. Mind you, that was top 2 in the 1970s. Education used to make up for the first or second most declared major in the country. Now it's number 9. And then number 10 is communication and journalism at just 4.3%, which in my opinion is kind of sad as well. And, again, it is true that many professions still require a college degree. In fact, we can look over some of them. Degree requiring professions: to be an accountant, CPA, a financial analyst, an actuary. If you want to be a registered nurse, you need to pass medical licensing exams as well, but you need your degree. Professional engineer, you must be licensed. Software engineer, for most, for H-1B visas, you have to have a degree. You don't if you are an American, but if you're an H-1B, which I hope doesn't apply to any of my listeners, but if you are an H-1B, you have to have a degree to be a software engineer. To be a psychologist or a counselor in a professional capacity, clinical roles require a master's degree, actually. Education, state teaching certifications require a degree. That's only for public schools. Lawyer, that's kind of falls in the social sciences category. That requires a JD. You need your doctorate. All of those things fall under the umbrella of professions requiring a college degree. Well, kind of, because you can be a bookkeeper with just a high school diploma. You just can't be an auditor or a CPA. So you can actually be in the business realm. You can actually work functionally as an accountant, financial analyst. You just can't be an auditor or CPA. Actually, you can also be a certified nursing assistant with just a diploma. You just can't be a registered nurse. You can also be a technician with an associate's degree. Like I stated, if you're an American, you can be a software engineer without a degree. You can actually be a psychologist or a counselor outside of clinical roles without a degree. You can be in private education, employed by a private school without a degree. The only other one on this list that actually did require a degree besides a CPA, registered nurse, a professional engineer, is a lawyer. And yet, the people who actually go into those professions make up a very small percentage of declared majors. People are wasting their time at college for majors that will not affect whether they get a job or not. In fact, we can look back and real quick at some of these statistics from employers. Employers, they don't even think that students are qualified who have a degree. Let's see here. 50% of employers believe college graduates are unprepared. 52% of college graduates are underemployed a year after graduation. 45% of college students don't use their degree until a decade after they get it. You might wait 10 years before you use what you paid an inordinate amount of money for. In fact, there's a great chance about half of the people who graduate college will not use their degree for a decade. Let me tell you, just in short, because we need to wrap this up, but in short, you are wasting your time. If you are at college because you think it's going to help your career, you're wasting your time. Even if you think, hey, I want to be an accountant, I want to be this or that doesn't need a degree. Well, research from Goldman Sachs and Anthropic indicates that white-collar, high-earning, high-education jobs are the most exposed to AI disruption. If you are working or plan on working a career that requires a high education, that's a kind of a white-collar job, odds are you'll be replaced by AI in the next 5 to 10 years. So if you're a high school graduate and you're thinking about going to college and you're like, hey, I want to go into this high education, high earning white collar job, you better make sure it's AI proof. Because if you're a high school graduate, you're about to spend 4 years, and then it could be literally the year after you graduate that your job gets replaced by AI. Is that going to be worth it? Is it going to be worth the possible excess of $500,000? The burden of student loans for the next 10 to 12 years, is that going to be worth it for you? I'll end with this. The Bible says in Luke 14, verse 27, and whosoever doth not bear his cross and come after me cannot be my disciple. For which of you intending to build a tower sitteth not down first and counteth the cost, whether he have sufficient to finish it? Lest haply after he hath laid the foundation and is not able to finish it, all that behold it begin to mock him, saying, this man began to build and was not able to finish. Or what king, going to make war against another king, sitteth not down first and consulteth whether he be able with 10,000 to meet him that cometh against him with 20,000? Or else, while the other is yet a great way off, he sendeth an ambassage and desireth conditions of peace. So likewise, whoever he be of you that forsaketh not all that he hath, cannot be my disciple. Jesus is teaching here that you have to forsake all to follow him. But what I want to focus on is this idea of counting the cost. Okay, like I said at the beginning, college is a scam, but that does not mean that nobody should go to college. What I am encouraging people to do is to count the cost. Don't just do it because you think you have to. Don't just do it because your parents make you. Count the cost. Is it worth it? Do you need to go to college? Is it really going to do something for you? And if it is, praise the Lord. Work hard, don't cheat, do your best, go to college. But if it's not going to do something for you, don't waste your time. Go to trade school. Go straight into the workforce. Get married, start a family. Get into ministry. All of that is much more important than you having a piece of paper that will hang on your wall for a decade, unused, untouched, unnoticed, and very expensive. Thank you all for listening. And as always, until next time.